The Forbidden Warning. The Galactic Preservation Council's headquarters floated in the neutral zone between three major star systems. It was a massive structure made of crystalline materials that shimmered with collected starlight. Inside its vast archives, millions of data cores held the recorded history of 10,000 civilizations. Some were success stories. Most were warnings. Ambassador Thelnara walked through the ancient archive section with careful steps. Her species, the Velkhari, were known throughout the galaxy as the record keepers. They lived for thousands of years and dedicated their existence to preserving knowledge. Thelnara had served the Council for 8 centuries. She thought she had seen every type of warning the galaxy could offer. She was wrong. The data core she carried pulsed with a deep red light. She had found it at the edge of explored space, orbiting a yellow star. The star had 9 planets, and the third one was covered in blue oceans and green landmasses. The core was old, perhaps 50,000 years old, but its power source still functioned. That alone was remarkable. Thelnara placed the core into the analysis chamber. Holographic symbols appeared in the air around her. They were written in the old language, a form of communication that predated most current civilizations. Very few species still understood it. Fortunately, the Velkhari were one of them. The message was simple but chilling. It read, "Warning to all who travel the stars. The third planet of this system is home to a species called humans. They appear weak. They appear divided. They appear primitive. Do not be deceived. These beings possess something that defies all logic and measurement. They call it the human spirit. If you attack them, they will not stop until you are destroyed, or they are extinct. There is no middle ground with humans. This warning has been placed by the Anthrak Empire, who learned this lesson at the cost of their entire civilization. Do not repeat our mistake. Do not provoke the humans." Thelnara read the message 3 times. The Anthrak Empire was legendary. They had ruled over half the galaxy millions of years ago. Their technology was so advanced that modern civilizations still could not fully understand their artifacts. Yet according to this message, they had been destroyed by a primitive species on a single planet. She immediately called for a council session. Within hours, representatives from 12 major civilizations gathered in the main chamber. Thelnara presented her findings. The reaction was mixed. High Magistrate Zorath of the Telkhani Republic laughed. He was a tall being with 4 arms and skin that changed colors with his emotions. Currently, it showed amusement in bright yellow patterns. "You bring us a warning about primitives." The Anthrak probably exaggerated their defeat to save face. Or this is simply a mistake in translation. Fleet. Commander Rixel of the Mordani Collective nodded in agreement. The Mordani were a warrior race. They respected only strength. "I have reviewed the data on this planet Earth. The humans have barely left their own world. They fight among themselves constantly. They have no unified government. They would fall before any organized military force in days." Thelnara felt frustration rising in her chest. The warning specifically says that humans appear weak. It warns us not to be deceived by appearances. The Anthrak Empire was not known for cowardice or exaggeration. Science, Director Lamar of the Quintari Institute spoke next. The Quintari were pure energy beings who valued logic above all else. I have studied human biology from our long-range observations. They are indeed fragile. Their bodies cannot survive in most galactic environments. They have no natural weapons or armor. They are average in intelligence. There is nothing remarkable about them on paper. Exactly, Thelnara said. Nothing remarkable on paper. Yet the Anthrak Empire fell to them. We should investigate further before dismissing this warning. But her words fell on deaf ears. The council voted to classify the warning as historically interesting, but not practically relevant. Earth was marked as a low-priority system. The meeting ended, and the representatives returned to their respective territories. Thelnara returned to her chambers, feeling defeated. She had learned long ago that powerful beings rarely listened to warnings. They believed their strength made them invincible. She had seen this pattern repeat throughout history. It always ended the same way. 3 months later, the Kralix Dominion made its announcement. They were expanding their territory and had identified several promising systems for colonization. Earth's solar system was on their list. The planet had abundant resources, a favorable location along trade routes, and a primitive native population that could be easily controlled or eliminated. War Chief Vectar commanded the Kralix military forces. He was a massive being, nearly 4 meters tall, with armored scales covering his body. His species had evolved on a harsh world, where only the strongest survived. They had conquered 40 systems through superior military and ruthless tactics. Vectar had personally led 20 of those conquests. He had never lost a battle. When Thelnara heard the news, she immediately requested an audience with Vectar. It took 2 weeks to arrange, but finally, she stood before him in his war room aboard his flagship. The ship was enormous, designed to inspire fear in enemies. Every surface was decorated with weapons or trophies from defeated civilizations. War Chief Vectar, Thelnara began. I have come to warn you about Earth. There is an ancient message that suggests attacking the humans would be extremely dangerous. Vectar examined her with his cold, predatory eyes. I have reviewed your report, Ambassador. I find it unconvincing. The humans have primitive technology. They have no space fleet. They cannot even agree on simple matters among themselves. My analysts estimate complete conquest within 30 days. Thelnara produced a holographic display of the ancient warning. The Anthrak Empire was far more advanced than the Kralix Dominion. Yet they fell to these humans. Does that not concern you? The Anthrak Empire fell millions of years ago. Vectar replied. We have no reliable records of what actually happened. Perhaps they were destroyed by internal conflict. Perhaps they were weakened by disease. Perhaps this warning is completely fabricated. I will not change military strategy based on ancient myths. This is not a myth, Thelnara insisted. This is a warning from a civilization that learned a terrible lesson. Please, at least send scouts to observe the humans more carefully before committing to invasion. Vectar's scales darkened with annoyance. I have already sent scouts. They confirmed what we already knew. Humans are divided into near 100 separate nations. They waste resources on conflicts with each other. They have primitive weapons that could not scratch the hull of my smallest ship. There is no threat here, Ambassador. Only opportunity. Thelnera tried one more time. What if you are wrong? What if the warning is accurate? Then I will learn from my mistake. Vectar said with finality. But I am not wrong. The Kralix Dominion does not fear shadows and ancient stories. We deal with reality, and the reality is that Earth will be ours in 1 month. This audience is over. Thelnera left the flagship with a heavy heart. She had done everything she could. Now she could only watch and document what happened next. She returned to the Preservation Council and began preparing to record what she feared would be another cautionary tale for future civilizations. The Kralix fleet assembled in the outer edges of the solar system. It was an impressive force by any standard. 300 warships, each capable of destroying cities from orbit. 1 million soldiers, trained and equipped with advanced weapons. Supply ships, support vessels, and orbital bombardment platforms. It was more than enough force to conquer 100 primitive worlds. Vectar stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Unstoppable, and watched Earth grow larger on the viewscreen. It was a beautiful planet, he admitted. The blue oceans and white clouds made it look peaceful and inviting. Soon it would be Kralix territory. The resources would fuel their expansion. The strategic location would give them control over new trade routes. It was a perfect conquest. Begin long-range scans, he ordered. I want detailed information on their military capabilities, population centers, and industrial capacity. His officers worked efficiently. Within hours, they had comprehensive data. Earth had approximately 8 billion humans, spread across 6 continents. They had thousands of military installations, but their weapons were chemically propelled projectiles and simple explosives. Their most powerful bombs used nuclear fission, a technology the Kralix had abandoned centuries ago as inefficient. Their strongest military forces are concentrated in a few major nations, his tactical officer reported. If we eliminate their command centers in the first strike, organized resistance should collapse quickly. Vectar nodded with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The fleet moved into position around Earth. The humans had detected them, of course. Their primitive sensor arrays had picked up the energy signatures days ago. There was panic on the planet below. Good. Fear would make them easier to control. He activated the communication system to broadcast to the entire planet. His image appeared on every electronic device humans possessed. He spoke in their most common language, which his systems had easily translated. Humans of Earth, he announced. I am War Chief Vectar of the Kralix Dominion. Your planet has been selected for integration into our territory. You have 2 options. Surrender immediately and accept Kralix rule, or resist and be destroyed. You have 1 day to decide. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Vectar expected immediate chaos and probably surrender within hours. Most primitive species collapsed when faced with superior force. They recognized the futility of resistance. Surely humans would do the same. The response came 6 hours later. A human face appeared on his communication screen. It was an older male with gray hair and hard eyes. He wore a military uniform, covered in colorful insignia. His expression showed no fear, only cold determination. War Chief Vector. The human said calmly, "I am General Marcus Rivera, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Defense Coalition. We have received your message and considered your demands. Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not submit. We will not accept your rule. If you want Earth, you will have to take it from our dead hands." Vector was surprised but not concerned. "You cannot win this war. We outnumber you. We have superior technology. We have conquered 40 worlds. Resistance is pointless." General Rivera smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "You may have conquered 40 worlds, but you have never conquered Earth. You have never fought humans. We have been fighting wars among ourselves for 10,000 years. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters that would have destroyed softer species. We have climbed from caves to reach the stars. And now you come here threatening our home, our families, our world. You have made a terrible mistake. War Chief. You should have listened to the warning." "What warning?" Vector demanded. "The one that was left for species exactly like yours." Rivera replied. "The one that said never to attack the humans. You ignored it. Now you will learn why it was placed there. We will teach you the same lesson we taught the Anthrac Empire. Earth is not yours to take. It is ours to defend. And we will defend it with everything we have." The transmission ended. Vector stared at the blank screen for a moment. Then he laughed. "Brave words from a primitive. Begin the invasion. Show these humans what happens when they defy the Krallick's dominion." The fleet moved forward. Drop ships launched from the larger vessels, carrying soldiers and equipment toward the surface. Orbital platforms charged their weapons, preparing to bombard military targets. Everything proceeded according to plan. Then Earth fought back. Missiles launched from hidden positions across the planet. They were not primitive chemical rockets. They were something else. Something that moved faster than Krallick scanners could track. They struck the orbital platforms with devastating accuracy. Explosions bloomed in space as platforms were destroyed. Vector gripped his command chair. How are they doing this? Their technology should not be capable of reaching orbit with such power. Unknown, War Chief. His tactical officer replied with panic in his voice. The missiles are using propulsion systems we do not recognize. They are also somehow bypassing our defensive shields. More missiles rose from Earth. They targeted the drop ships. One by one, the invasion craft exploded or were crippled. Soldiers who had expected easy victory died in flames before reaching the surface. The ones who did reach the ground found themselves facing an enemy that should not have existed. Human soldiers emerged from prepared positions. They wore advanced armor that was not in the intelligence reports. They carried weapons that fired projectiles at supersonic speeds. They moved with coordinated precision that suggested extensive training and communication systems. The first Krallick soldiers to land near a human city called New York found themselves in a nightmare. Buildings had been converted into fortresses. Streets had been turned into killing zones. Humans attacked from every direction with weapons, traps, and tactics that seemed impossible for a primitive species. Vectar watched the battle reports with growing disbelief. His forces were not winning. They were not even breaking even. They were losing. In the first 6 hours of combat, the Kralix Dominion lost 30,000 soldiers and 70 ships. The humans lost numbers too, but they kept fighting with a ferocity that defied logic. Pull back. Vectar ordered. Regroup in orbit. We need to reassess. But pulling back proved difficult. Human fighters, actual spacecraft that should not have existed, harassed the Kralix fleet. They were small and fast, using hit and run tactics that caused disproportionate damage. It was clear that humans had been preparing for this fight. They had hidden their true capabilities. They had set a trap. Vectar realized with cold certainty that he had made a terrible mistake. The warning had been real. The Anthrak Empire had not been exaggerating. Humans were something different, something dangerous, something that would not stop fighting, no matter the cost. The question now was whether the Kralix Dominion could escape Earth with enough forces to survive. The answer, Vectar feared, was probably no. The price of arrogance. The Kralix fleet hung in orbit around Earth, like wounded prey, desperate and confused. War Chief Vectar stared at the tactical display, with disbelief etched across his scaled face. 24 hours ago, he had commanded 300 warships and 1 million soldiers. Now, he had 215 ships, and his ground forces had been reduced by 40%. The humans had not just resisted. They had counterattacked with a fury that shook the foundations of everything Vectar thought he knew about warfare. Status report. He demanded, his voice rough with exhaustion and barely contained rage. His second, in command, Commander Thrax, approached cautiously. War Chief, we have lost another 12 ships in the last hour. Human fighters continue to attack our supply vessels. Our ground forces are requesting immediate evacuation from 17 different locations. They report that humans are using weapons and tactics we have never encountered before. Vectar slammed his fist against the armrest of his command chair. The metal buckled under the impact. How is this possible? Our intelligence was thorough. We observed this planet for months. Where did they hide this technology? Where did they learn to fight like this? Well, I believe they have been deceiving us from the beginning. Thrax replied carefully. The humans allowed us to see only what they wanted us to see. Their true military capabilities were hidden underground, beneath oceans, and in facilities we never detected. They were waiting for someone to attack. They were prepared. On Earth's surface, the battle raged across every continent. In the ruins of what was once the city of Tokyo, Kralix soldiers found themselves trapped in an urban nightmare. Buildings that had appeared abandoned suddenly revealed hidden firing positions. Humans emerged from sewers, subway tunnels, and reinforced bunkers. They attacked with weapons that seemed to anticipate Kralix's defensive shields. Squad leader Krath crouched behind a destroyed vehicle, his breathing heavy inside his helmet. He commanded 20 soldiers. 6 hours ago, he had commanded 50. The humans had picked them apart with precision strikes, ambushes, and weapons that penetrated Kralix armor as if it were paper. Commander, we need extraction. Krath spoke into his communication device. We are surrounded. The humans have cut off all retreat routes. They are not fighting like primitives. They are fighting like they have done this for centuries. Negative on extraction, came the reply. All transport ships are engaged. Hold your position. Reinforcements will arrive in 4 hours. Krath knew his squad would not survive 4 hours. The humans were getting closer. He could hear their coordinated movements, their calm communications. They were not panicking. They were hunting. A human soldier appeared at the end of the street. She was small compared to Krallick's warriors, barely reaching Krath's chest in height. She wore armor covered in urban camouflage and carried a rifle that hummed with energy. Her face was visible through a transparent visor. She looked young, perhaps in her mid-20s by human standards. Her eyes showed no fear, only determination. Surrender, she called out in surprisingly clear Krallick's language. You are surrounded. You cannot win. Throw down your weapons. Krath laughed bitterly. Humans do not take prisoners. Your species kills without mercy. The human soldier shook her head. You are thinking of yourselves. We are not like the Krallicks. We offer you one chance to live. Take it or die here. Krath considered his options. He had heard reports that humans actually did take prisoners, treated them according to something they called the Geneva Convention. It seemed impossible that a species so fierce in battle could show such restraint. But the alternative was certain death. I surrender, Krath said, lowering his weapon. His remaining soldiers followed his example. The human soldier approached carefully, keeping her weapon trained on them. Smart choice. War is over for you, but your leaders need to learn the same lesson. Similar scenes played out across the planet. Some Krallick soldiers fought to the death, as their culture demanded. Others, seeing the futility of resistance, surrendered to the humans who offered them mercy they had never shown to others. The ground invasion that was supposed to take 30 days had failed in less than 2 days. In orbit, War Chief Ektar faced an even more disturbing development. Human spacecraft, actual military vessels that had somehow been constructed in secret, emerged from hidden locations on Earth and its moon. They were smaller than Krallick's warships, but faster and more maneuverable. They attacked in coordinated groups, using tactics that suggested extensive training and planning. Captain Jennifer Hayes commanded the human spacecraft Defiant Thunder. She had been a fighter pilot before being selected for the new space defense program. When alien signals were first detected months ago, Earth's governments had done something unprecedented. They had unified. Scientists from every nation had worked together. Engineers had shared technology freely. Soldiers had trained side by side, regardless of nationality or history. The result was a hidden fleet of 60 spacecraft, armed with weapons that combined human innovation with reverse-engineered alien technology from crashed probes that had visited Earth decades ago. The aliens thought humans were primitive. They had no idea that humanity had been quietly studying their technology for generations, waiting for the moment when they would need to defend their world. Target the command ship. Jennifer ordered her tactical officer, the big one at the center of their formation. If we can damage their leadership, the rest might lose coordination. Captain, That ship is 3 times our size, her officer replied. Our weapons might not penetrate its shields. Jennifer smiled grimly. Then we do not attack the shields. We attack the shield generators. Humans learned a long time ago that every defense has a weakness. You just have to find it and exploit it. The Defiant. Thunder accelerated toward the Kralix command ship, joined by 5 other human vessels. They fired concentrated bursts at specific points on the ship's hull, targeting the exposed shield generator nodes that Kralix engineers had never bothered to properly protect, because no enemy had ever been precise enough to hit them. The shields flickered and failed in sections. Immediately, human missiles streaked through the gaps, striking the command ship's engines and weapon systems. Explosions rippled across the hull. The unstoppable, Vectar's flagship, began to list to one side as maneuvering thrusters failed. All power to weapons. Vectar roared. Destroy those human ships. But the human spacecraft were already gone, darting away faster than Kralix targeting systems could track. They regrouped and attacked another Kralix vessel, then another, using the same precise tactics. The Kralix fleet, designed for overwhelming force against stationary targets, could not adapt to this style of combat. On Earth, human scientists worked frantically in underground facilities. They examined captured Kralix technology, looking for advantages they could exploit. What they found was both encouraging and disturbing. Kralix technology was advanced, but it was also standardized and predictable. The Kralix had conquered many worlds, but they had never faced an enemy that could innovate rapidly. They relied on superior numbers and firepower, not creativity. Dr. Sarah Chen, one of Earth's leading weapons engineers, stood in a laboratory surrounded by alien equipment. This is fascinating, she said to her team. Their weapons are powerful, but they are designed for one purpose. They never considered that an enemy might adapt during combat. They never imagined facing an opponent who could learn and change tactics quickly. Can we use this against them? Her assistant asked. Absolutely, Sarah replied. We are already developing countermeasures. By tomorrow, we will have shields that can deflect their plasma weapons. By next week, we will have weapons that can disable their ships from a distance. Humans did not become the dominant species on Earth by being the strongest or fastest. We became dominant because we could adapt faster than anything else. These aliens are about to learn that lesson the hard way. The countermeasures were deployed within 36 hours. Human soldiers received updated armor with shield generators. Human ships received new weapons based on modified Kralix technology. The tide of battle, already favoring Earth, turned into a complete rout. War Chief Vectar sat in his damaged command chair and watched his dream of conquest crumble. Half his fleet was destroyed or crippled. 3/4 of his ground forces were dead, wounded, or captured. The humans were not just winning. They were dominating. Every hour brought new human innovations, new tactics, new weapons. It was as if the entire planet was one massive war machine that only got stronger the longer the fight continued. War Chief, Commander Thrax said quietly. We must retreat. If we stay here, the entire fleet will be destroyed. We have already lost too much. Vectar wanted to refuse. His pride demanded that he fight until victory or death. But he was also a realist. The Krallick's dominion needed to know what had happened here. Other civilizations needed to be warned. The ancient message about humans had been true. Every word of it had been accurate. "Send the retreat signal," Vectar said, each word tasting like poison. "All ships are to disengage and jump to hyperspace immediately. Leave the ground forces. They will have to surrender. War Chief." "We cannot abandon our soldiers," Thrax protested. "They are already lost," Vectar replied. "If we stay to rescue them, we will all die. At least this way, some of us will survive to tell what happened here." The Krallick's fleet began to withdraw. Those ships still capable of faster. Then light travel activated their drives and vanished into hyperspace. Those too damaged to escape were either destroyed by human forces or surrendered. Within 6 hours, Earth's orbit was clear of hostile vessels. On the surface, the remaining Krallick soldiers faced a choice: die fighting or surrender to an enemy they had underestimated. Most chose surrender. They had seen enough of human warfare to know that continued resistance was suicide. General Marcus Rivera stood in the emergency command center beneath what remained of Washington, D.C. Around him, officers from every nation monitored the final stages of the battle. When the last Krallick ship vanished from orbit, the room erupted in cheers. They had done the impossible. They had defended Earth against an alien invasion. But Rivera did not cheer. He looked at the casualty reports. 2 billion humans had died in 2 days of fighting. Entire cities had been destroyed. Generations of progress had been set back. The victory had come at a terrible cost. Send a message to all surviving Krallick's ships, Rivera ordered. Tell them to spread the word across the galaxy. Tell every civilization that exists: Earth is protected. Humans are not to be attacked. Anyone who ignores this warning will face the same fate as the Krallick's dominion. We did not want this war, but we will finish any war that is brought to us. The message was transmitted across every frequency the Krallicks used. It reached the retreating ships. It reached Krallick's territories. Eventually, it reached the Galactic Preservation Council. Ambassador Thalnera received the message in her chambers. She immediately analyzed the battle data that human scientists had included. What she saw confirmed her worst fears. The humans had not just defeated the Kralliks. They had done so while holding back significant portions of their military capability. They had weapons they had not used, strategies they had not revealed. The message was clear. This was not humanity at full strength. This was humanity being merciful. She composed a new report for the Galactic Council. This time, they would listen. This time, they would understand. Earth was not just protected by ancient warnings. It was protected by a species that refused to be conquered. A species that grew stronger through adversity. A species that would fight with creativity, determination, and unity that other civilizations could not match. The report concluded with a simple statement. The warning was accurate. The Anthrak Empire fell because they attacked humans. The Krallick's dominion is broken because they attacked humans. Let this be the final lesson. Never provoke the humans. Never threaten Earth. Those who ignore this warning will not survive. 3 months after the battle, Representatives from 30 civilizations gathered at the Galactic Preservation Council. They came to hear Thelnara present her findings. They came to learn what had happened to the mighty Krallick's dominion. They came to understand the truth about humans. Thelnara showed them everything: battle recordings, casualty figures, analysis of human tactics and technology. The representatives watched in silence as humans who had appeared primitive revealed capabilities that rivaled or exceeded many advanced civilizations. They watched humans adapt in real time, turning enemy weapons against their creators. They watched a species that fought with intelligence, courage, and an absolute refusal to surrender. When the presentation ended, the chamber was silent. Finally, High Magistrate Zorath spoke. His skin showed deep blue patterns of respect and fear. I was wrong. I dismissed the warning. I believed humans were weak. I understand now. They are perhaps the most dangerous species in the galaxy, because they do not know when to give up. Fleet Commander Rixel nodded slowly. My people respect strength. We have never seen strength like this. Humans fight not just for survival but for each other. They unite in ways we cannot understand. The Mordani will never attack Earth. This I swear. One by one, the representatives made similar vows. Earth would be declared a protected world. No civilization would be permitted to attack it. Any species that ignored this decree would be considered an enemy of the entire Galactic Council. Thelnara felt relief wash over her. Finally, they understood. Finally, the warnings would be heeded. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Cities were rebuilt. The dead were mourned. The captured Krallick soldiers were eventually returned to their homeworld in exchange for reparations and a formal peace treaty. Humanity had proven they could defend themselves, but they chose to show mercy rather than vengeance. General Rivera stood at a memorial site where names of the fallen were inscribed on walls of black stone. 2 billion names. 2 billion lives lost defending Earth. He placed his hand on the cold stone and made a silent promise. Humanity would never forget this cost. They would remain vigilant. They would remain united. They would ensure that the sacrifice of those who died meant something. In the years that followed, Earth became known throughout the galaxy as the world that could not be conquered. Some civilizations feared humans. Others respected them. A few sought friendship and alliance. But all of them understood one fundamental truth: never attack the humans. The warning was not a suggestion. It was a statement of fact, written in the ashes of empires that had learned the lesson too late. The Anthrak Empire had fallen. The Krallick's dominion was broken. Any future civilization foolish enough to ignore the warning would meet the same fate. Earth remained a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. But it was no longer ignored. It was no longer dismissed as primitive. It was a world that had proven that true strength comes not from technology or numbers, but from the unbreakable spirit of those who refuse to be conquered. The humans had spoken. The galaxy had listened. And peace, hard won and dearly bought, finally came to the third planet from the sun.